Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say...
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin, girl.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
And welcome to Frankie Sense and More. I am your host, Frankie Picasso. Riding shotgun with me today is one of my favorite co-hosts, Rlee, is in the house. Hey, Rlee, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And also today we have some fantastic guests I can't wait for you to meet, but you're going to have to wait just a second. We have Marc the Vet, a.k.a. Marc Abraham, is with us. 15-year-old Nashville sensation Chloe Collins is here. And we're expecting Gabrielle Myers, the author of Hive Mind. So she should be coming along shortly, too. Yesterday, Rlee, you know I was struggling what to open the show with. I flipped a few topics, as you know. We went from creativity to world events. And this morning I thought, no, maybe I should just talk about Christmas gifts or something. But you know what? I had to go back to world events because it's really bothering me, all of this really low negative energy around the Syrian refugees. And, you know, I went back to the Human Rights Declaration, and it says everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. And that's Articles 19 and 20 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, if you don't know or you forget, about 5 years ago, that's exactly how the Syrian crisis began. You know, a group of kids, teenagers, with a can full of spray paint, you know, put a message on the wall in the Syrian city of Dara. And they said, you know, this graffiti was, the people want to topple the regime. Well, that's what started this whole event. The government's answer was to start shooting people. You know, the people thought, we're going to have peaceful assembly. No, you can't tell them there that you don't like them. We're just going to start shooting you. And that's pretty much how it all started. And after that started, some of the Syrian military officers, they defected and they formed the Free Syrian Army. And then some more political groups, you know, started and they established the Syrian National Council. And everybody wanted to topple, you know, President Bashar al-Assad. Now, along comes ISIS. And they just pour the gasoline on the fire, and the Kurds and the Americans start attacking ISIS strongholds. Now, ISIS blows up these priceless ruins, and at this point now we have 3.5 million people in Syria needing humanitarian assistance. Today, we're at a little over 4 million refugees have fled. There's about another 7.6 million refugees who are still, you know, displaced within Syria, and half of those are kids. Now, along comes Russia. They said, oh, we're going to start attacking ISIS. And so they start doing these airstrikes into Syria. Now you've got like 320,000 people killed, and nearly 12,000 of them kids. And, you know, the infrastructure has collapsed. There's no health care. There's no education. There's nothing anymore. The economy is shattered. These children, there's no hope for a better future. There's nothing. And I am so proud as a Canadian to say that this week, the Syrian refugees have begun to resettle in Canada. And Canada has opened their doors to 25,000 refugees, and 1,665 have already arrived, and 1,594 of them have already had their applications finalized. So I'm really, really proud of that. I think that, you know, that's pretty amazing. And what I hear from the other side of the border, and maybe here too, you know, is everything that's stemming from fear. And the fear is we can't let them in. They're terrorists. You know, we're going to let this whole wave of terrorists in with us. And, you know, I think that that's really low thinking, low energy thinking. It's not anything that we need to go to, because if we can rise above the fear and put ourselves into their position and think, you know, it's a family, it's children. These people had good jobs. They had money. They had houses. They had everything that we have over here. And now it's all gone. You know, how could you not open your heart to them?
You know, it's interesting. I've seen several photographs of streets in Syria, what they looked like 5 years ago, and then the absolute devastation that has come about in what you would think was an average neighborhood in any country in the world, and it has devastated them so much that it's no wonder these people are looking for a better way, a better life.
Yeah, I know. And, I can't even imagine being bombed. Rlee, I can't even imagine, sitting here in my nice little home and outside, bombs and things are going off. We have been so blessed this generation not to have to, especially in North America, not to have had to go through that. But lots and lots of people have. And so I just want to ask people to open their hearts to the refugees, to maybe join if your heart is there and you want to help. There's a couple of agencies that you might want to join. And the first one is Amnesty International, who has done a lot to help organize the refugees. And that's an organization I belong to. And they're a non-governmental organization, and they focus on human rights around the world. There's about 7 million members, I think. AVAZ is another organization. That's AVAAZ. They are about 42 million strong. And they campaign through online, forms and send these off to governments and because they really want to ensure that the views and the values of the world's people have been met. And they had a huge win last week with the Paris summit because we did get 190 countries. They let them know, 190 countries signed and said that fossil fuels are going to be, eliminated hopefully by 2050, and that's really huge. And the third organization is forcechange.com, and they're made up of a group of really passionate individuals who care deeply about issues like animal rights, environment, human rights, social justice, things like that. And last week they were on the rampage to help the lions who were just killed in the sanctuary because they ate a tainted carcass of a cow. Now, some of the Maasai farmers, they bring their cattle into the reserve so that they can eat really good grass. Unfortunately, lions being who they are, they ate one of the cows, and so the farmers decided to taint their carcass with poison, and they killed a couple, and they actually killed a couple lions who were on television stars, which doesn't really make a difference. But what did make a difference was that through forced change and organizations like it, it's the first time in history the farmers are going to get charged. And that's going to make a huge difference, I believe, on what's going to happen to them in the future, and maybe that they'll leave this wildlife alone.
Well, that's interesting because, recently there was a big scandal about sport hunters killing lions, and there was the decision was that it's okay for sport hunters to do that, but yet these people who are basically trying to eke out a living are being charged. So it's interesting the way that we place our value system. It
is, but you can't go around killing things that don't belong to you, and especially with so many species, as we already know, are dying off, and they're never going to come back. So we really have to be conscious of what we're doing.
Right. I think my point was, we have a system that doesn't balance that, because
that's true.
The sport hunters should be just as guilty as the people who poisoned the lions.
Absolutely. And somebody who really probably knows a lot more about that than I do is our next guest. And I'm going to introduce him. If dogs are man's best friend, then Marc Abraham definitely has a ton of besties in the world. In fact, all of the animals benefit from his love, advocacy, and his mission in life. Marc is a practicing veterinary surgeon. He's an author, animal welfare campaigner. He's based in Brighton, England, and he is the celebrity. Huge congratulations go out to you, Marc, because you have been an incredible friend to the animals, and he's been voted Vet of the Year by the Daily Mirror, RSPCA. He is the Animal Hero Awards 2015 winner. Yay!
Wow.
In 2014, he was also named Vet of the Year by SIVA Animal Welfare Awards. So, wow, congratulations again. And I can see why, because not only has Marc got a very busy practice, but he's also involved in animal welfare. He founded Pup Aid, now in its 5th year, and it's a campaign against puppy mills and farming. And he has also just produced a brilliant film, Dog by Dog documentary, which raises awareness of the daily realities of puppy mills, an issue that is very close to his heart, I'm sure he'll talk about. If you couldn't guess it, he's also a television celebrity, and he's been featured on many shows, including BBC Breakfast, The Paul O'Grady Show, Good Morning Britain, and one that I spent all morning watching because it was so much fun, My Pet Shame. That was pretty fun. So, Marc, welcome, because we got so much to talk about. Welcome.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You have, in your spare time, if you have any, you volunteer to help animals around the world. You've been to Asia. You've worked with the moon bears. You've worked with, who else have you? Donkeys. I have 2 donkeys that I sponsor.
They're
real fun.
I've worked with donkeys in the Middle East. I've worked with moon bears at the Animals Asia Moon Bear Rehabilitation Sanctuary. I've worked in Mumbai for a fantastic charity called Welfare of Stray Dogs India in the slums, in the Amazon, Ukraine, all over the world, really.
Yeah.
Thailand after the tsunami. Yeah.
Incredible. I love your passion. The very first thing I ever wanted to be was a vet and a jockey and a DJ. I couldn't decide. But I have a real passion for animals, like you, and so does Rlee. Rlee, you had a couple goals. You've always had dogs, and me too. We love animals.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone loves animals, and I hear that Toronto is especially dog-friendly in terms of cities in the US and Canada.
Very much so. Our parks are amazing for the animals. We have really great off-leash parks for them. And there's so many dogs. And I love that everybody cleans up. And so that's really wonderful. And the SPCA here does a fantastic job of doing free spays and neuters. And then, the shelters here aren't into killing as much as they are other places that I've worked with. And they really want to get the pets adopted, which is pretty wonderful, and something I know that you care about as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of rescue pets, of shelter pets, but I think also Toronto is one of the few cities in the world who have banned puppies and kittens that have been commercially bred on puppy mills to be sold in pet stores.
Yeah, there's no more of that.
And that's something that we're fighting for in the UK, but I think there's over 90 cities now in the US and Canada that have actually achieved that. Which is a way of stopping third-party sales of animals, impulse purchases, and a way of stopping the encouragement of, irresponsible mass production of dogs and to a lesser extent cats. And what that does is it pushes people towards responsible breeders, where you'll always see the puppy with its mum, or, right, as we say, shelters. So as long as those are the 2 options, responsible breeders, where you see
I'm going to stop you. We're going to commercial. Sure. Hang in there. We're going to come right back. Don't go away.
No, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Welcome to Geraldine Tegelov Live, the show that shares with you the secrets of redefining, reinventing, and rebuilding your life. Having pulled herself from the rubble of financial ruin and having gone on to create a highly successful career, Geraldine has become an expert in the art of transformation. She believes that it doesn't matter where you are right now, how overwhelmed you feel, or how impossible the task of turning your life around may seem. You can do it. Stay tuned as metaphysician, international best-selling author, and intuitive Geraldine Tegelov gives you the inner understanding and the outer practical how-to to create your amazing life. Gain a fresh perspective on how to redefine, reinvent, and rebuild your life. Join Geraldine Tegelov live every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
It's words you never heard.
Did you know that having one hand in your pocket is considered arrogant in Turkey? My husband and I felt like goostrum noodles when this was pointed out to us while we were visiting in Istanbul. A goostrum noodle is a foolish person. What is seen as common behavior in one country is frequently considered bad manners or rude in another country. For example, while most Americans sit in the back seat of a taxi, in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Scotland, and the Netherlands, to sit in the back of the cab when the front passenger seat is available is considered rude. In Japan and South Korea, tipping is seen as an insult. And in China and India, it is considered greedy to tear into a gift in front of the giver. What's another word for a person with bad manners? A snert.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my new app, Too Funny for Words.
And we're back with the National Animal Hero Award recipient, Vet of the Year, Marc the Vet. Marc, just before we went to break, we were talking about puppies in stores. And I know that on one of your films, you tell people that think that they're saving puppies from a bad life when they purchase it from a store. That's not the case.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about that initial encounter. And sometimes if you go to a pet shop or a sort of a fake breeder where you arrive and the mum is nowhere to be seen, sometimes the sicker the animal appears, i.e. if it's vomiting or if it's got diarrhea or fleas or worms, the more likely you are to buy it because there's a switch that flicks in your brain, which is sort of buying to rescue. And even though you're paying money still, you sort of justify your decision by rescuing it. Now, we'd all rescue in that situation because we love animals. But what it does is it makes room for another irresponsibly bred animal to fill its space. So we've got to be very, very aware when we research where we get our pets from, and we've got to be strong and not let our heart rule our head a lot of the time.
Now, this is a time of year where a lot of families might say, oh, I'm going to get somebody a pet for Christmas, which happened to me. And not the best of ideas.
No, I don't think so. I think, there are exceptions, of course. I think if you're maybe alone or you haven't got any kids or you've got a sort of a normal lifestyle, if you like, around Christmas, then possibly. But really, most Christmas arrangements for people involve families and screaming kids and elderly relatives and basically a loss of routine, just for a week or two.
Sure.
So I think when you adopt a shelter pet really desperately needs a routine. It needs peace and quiet. It needs to sort of come out of its shell gradually. So unless you can provide that environment, I think just hold on a week or 2 weeks, wait till the new year, and then you can spend as much peaceful, quiet, relaxed time allowing that shelter pet to adapt to its new surroundings. It's asking a lot to stick it in a chaotic situation potentially. And also not just about people around and arrangements, it's about the dangers of Christmas as well, because, there's a lot of chocolate around, raisins, grapes, things like tinsel, fairy lights, turkey carcasses, antifreeze, especially for cats. A lot of the Christmas flowers are poisonous too. So you're bringing potentially a dog or even a cat that you don't know really their personality into an environment filled with danger and filled with potential chaos. So why would you want to do that when you can just leave it in a rescue centre peacefully and quietly just for another week or so until the craziness dies down, and then you've got a nice, calm environment to introduce that pet to?
Great advice. How do you suggest people go about matching a pet to their family?
I think the best thing to do is to go to a rescue centre. I mean, they've taken the dogs in. They know exactly their circumstances individually. They treat all dogs or cats or rabbits or whatever the animal is going to be rescued as an individual. It's a personality, whether it gets on with cats, whether it doesn't, whether it's house trained, whether it's not house trained yet. So the best advice is really from a reputable rescue centre. If you're dead set on buying a puppy, and that's okay, I'm not anti-puppy, then, you have to source a responsible breeder. And that means you have to see the puppy interacting with its mum. You have to be in a situation that doesn't feel pressurised. And you should be able to sort of say, do you know what, I'll come back another time, maybe in a week or so, and not feel that you have to buy the puppy then. If you Google the cell phone number, that often gives you clues about whether they're selling lots of different puppies. If they're selling different breeds, that's another warning that, hang on a minute, there's something not quite right here. But really, go to your veterinarian, explain your situation, and they should direct you to the best breeders or the best rescue centres or both. Take time deciding what you want. Do your research and, talk to people. Talk to people in the street about their dog. People with dogs love talking about dogs. So the more research you do, the more fun dog shows you attend. Talk to people, get as much research as possible, because that decision not only obviously affects you and your family, but it affects the animal. And if you get it right, it's incredibly special, and you form a partnership that lasts, obviously, the whole animal's life. And we always find that rescue pets have so much love to give because they're just so grateful for being rescued.
They are. I just love. Oh man, I could just go in and take the whole bunch up. I know Rlee could too. The animals in rescue, a lot of them, they're not purebred, and that can sometimes be even better because a lot of the issues that our purebreds have aren't exaggerated in a mixed breed. Tell us about people who insist on getting a purebred.
Yeah, I mean, there's purebreds and there's crossbreeds. You do find both in rescue. Exaggerated features aren't recommended. I went to a lecture recently by a very eminent scientist who actually said that, what we call brachycephalic breeds, the short nose breeds, the pugs and the French bulldogs and the Boston Terriers, obviously they struggle to breathe. They look slightly different. They snort, they snore. They make all sorts of noises, and that can sometimes make them even more endearing to buy for people, because people love the feeling of looking after a sick animal. So there's so many twists and turns in this path to finding a pet. Really, whatever the animal, if it's purebred or if it's what we call a mongrel, a crossbreed, or a designer dog, if you like, that's what they're called now. They all deserve to be rescued. They all deserve a chance. It's none of their fault that they're in that situation.
That's right.
And the reasons for abandonment these days are so different to what they used to be. In the olden days, it was because they bit someone, or because they keep running off, or doing toilet in the house. And now it's because maybe someone's allergic, or their dog doesn't match the sofa or the furniture, or they just bored of the pet, or they're going into temporary accommodation, or they just honestly can't afford to keep it. So we have so many different reasons for abandonment now with animals. And really, if you're thinking about getting a dog, whether it's a purebred or a crossbreed, please try rescue first. And one of the other things that people don't realize is there are puppies in rescue. You don't have to go to a breeder for a puppy. You can get them in rescue. A lot of ex-breeding bitches go into rescue. A lot of pregnant dogs end up in rescue and then have puppies in rescue. A lot of puppies are dumped, in a cardboard box at rescue, especially at this time of year. So please, just because you want a puppy doesn't mean you can't go to rescue. And on the flip side of that, older dogs, mature dogs, dogs that are already house-trained, microchipped, neutered, sterilized, they also deserve a chance. And they're bargains, really, because they require no work in terms of neutering or microchipping or anything like that. And they're perfectly ready-made pets. So you've got to ask yourself, why wouldn't you rescue an older, more mature animal?
Exactly. And I know over here, and I don't know what it's like over across the pond there, black dogs don't always get the fair shake. A lot of people are
black dogs and black cats get a very unfair deal in rescue because they're often overlooked. And so that's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, but just give every animal a chance. They all deserve a forever loving home.
I wanted to reiterate a point that you made a little bit ago, and that is when you're choosing an animal to bring into your home, you're not selecting an ornament. You're selecting a member of your family, and you need to be aware of its variables as well as how it's going to affect the family.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and that also goes back to the whole giving pets as presents thing. If you give a pet as a present, you're immediately commoditizing it. You're saying this is a gift, rather than this is a living being that's going to interact with our family for the next 15 years, Right. And it's all about creating that impression of a family member, as you quite rightly say, rather than just a thing that can be disposed of if it doesn't work out. And I think that the more we treat pets like disposable items, like impulse purchases, like a good idea at the time because we see a celebrity on Twitter or Instagram dressing their French bulldog up, the more problems we're going to have. And on the opposite of that is the more we research, the more time we invest in making that decision right, in adopting a mature dog, in really, really finding out the best pet for our family, the stronger that bond is and the less likely we are to abandon that pet. And also the better PR it is for dog ownership in general, because if you're out and about with a lovely dog and you're getting on fine and you've done your research, then everyone's going to want to follow that sort of pathway and you're going to recommend more people to rescue.
That's right.
Rather than buying a pet store pup that's sick, it's dying of a virus, and that's going to put you off, and you're going to tell all your friends not to bother getting a puppy from a pet store either. It's very negative for the dog world. So we have an opportunity as dog lovers to really spread the word about rescue, about shelter, about responsible breeding, which ultimately ends dog cruelty. Which
I'd like to see
something we're all fighting for. Sorry.
I'd like to see the shelters become more adoption centers, so more adoption centric than, here's a place that we're going to take these dogs and in the United States, I know I sent you this little blurb, but 5,500 dogs, a day are killed every day, and it's just horrific to me that they see that that's a money decision, and yet so much more money for them could be made if they had marketed themselves as adoption centers and really helping people find their forever homes and the forever pets, because there is somebody out there for every dog. I know there is. They just don't know where they are.
Absolutely, and I think it's down to us with our social media networks to really help educate people that don't know about rescue, who aren't aware of rescue, and to really prioritise that as the option for getting a pet. We're all on Facebook, we're all on Twitter. We can all follow our local shelters, and every time they upload a picture or post an image of a dog or cat or rabbit, whatever, that needs a home, just share it. You don't have to give any money. You can, obviously, if you want. But what we have at our fingertips these days is the tools to really share and raise awareness about rescue, which we didn't have before. And if that post pops up in someone's feed that's looking for a dog and wasn't aware of rescue, and it just seeds something in their mind, that they pick up the phone, they go to the shelter, and they're introduced to the whole world of rescue. And I think that if you ever see a post on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram that's promoting rescue, share it, because you never know who's going to look at it, and you never know how many lives that one share is going to affect, both human and canine.
That's awesome. We're going to go to a break very shortly. Chloe, we're going to meet you in a minute, and Mark, I definitely want you to stick around. Chloe, do you have a pet?
I have 2 cats and a dog, yes.
Oh, good for you. What do you have? What's your dog? What breed is it?
He's a rescue, and he's a mix of Golden Retriever, German Shepherd, and something else, I think. Yeah.
Does he look like a Golden, or does he look like a Shepherd?
He looks like both. I mean, he's got the big snout, but he's got like the golden color. So. Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I got a Golden too. They're great dogs. And Shepherds are like my favorite. So there you go. Well, we're going to talk about you in a moment and your dogs. And we're going to come back with Mark because I have so much to ask him and there's so much information. But we are going to break. So please stick around, stay close, because we're going to come back and we're going to answer your question because I know you have one. There we go.
Heck no, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Be here for Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer. Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Tricia will dig deep into topics that matter most to women, inspiring women to make a change in their own lives and to make a difference in the world, and maybe even deep within their own hearts. Tricia is a wife, mom, speaker, family expert, and author of 24 books. For more information on Tricia and Living Inspired, go to her website, TriciaGoyer.com. That's TriciaGoyer.com. Tricia's vision is to be the voice of hope and possibility for women of all ages. Her intention is to serve ordinary women by encouraging extraordinary things with God's help. Tricia expresses real life, real hope for real women. Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer. Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
If you're like me, when you've finished dining at a restaurant, you hate waiting and waiting for the check to arrive so you can pay and get on with your day. I admit my rocket, as my kids call it, starts going off, and my husband always wants one more cup of coffee, and I'm ready to go, wiki, wiki, let's go. It's not that I'm tense. I'm just terribly alert. My husband always has a cup of coffee in his hand, so much so he is wearing out the handles of our coffee mugs. But then again, he's not as bad as the French writer Voltaire, who drank 70 cups of coffee a day. I can't drink coffee before going to bed because I get too wadgety. My husband, on the other hand, can drink several cups of joe and go right to sleep. And I'm not talking slumgullion. That's weak coffee.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my new app, Too Funny for Words.
And we're back, and thanks for sticking around. We're so happy that you have. You're going to meet Chloe Collins. Chloe is a 15-year-old singer-songwriter. She has written over 80 songs since she started playing guitar at the age of 8. And in addition to that, her songs have been played nationally and internationally on the radio. And she has, some of her songs have been used in network television, advertising campaigns. And she has just recorded her new EP, 5 at 15, and at Grind Central Station in Nashville with Mikey Reeves producing it. And that's pretty exciting. So welcome, Chloe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I know that Karina's going to want you on her new show because she's going to do a music show soon.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty exciting. You've been playing since the age of 8.
Yeah.
And it's country music? Is that how you describe yourself?
Yeah, I think maybe kind of country pop, just kind of a mix of things that I think sounds like me.
Right. And where do your ideas for your songs come from?
Kind of from all over. I mean, definitely personal experiences, but also things that my friends have gone through and even things in the media or movies, television, stuff like that.
Now, you have your own YouTube channel too.
Yes, I do.
Wow. And so how many loyal fans do you have there? Do you know?
Ooh, subscribers, maybe 100 or 200 or something, but my videos get like 30,000 views, which is incredible.
Wow, that is incredible. That is incredible. Let's hear her. Let's put her song on. The song is called Forget Your Name. Do you want to tell us about it before we play it?
Oh, yeah. Well, this one, again, I recorded in Nashville, and I wrote when I was about 14. It was just kind of like shaking someone off after a bad relationship, something like that.
A whole year ago. Okay.
Yeah.
We used to be that classic story. We had love like June and Johnny. You'd call me up and say I love you, and up till now I say I love you too. You've hurt me too many times, and so tonight I'm gonna dance until I can't feel my feet, spin under the lights till I can't see, drown your laughter out with the music, whirl until my shoes fall apart, smile until I can't feel the scars, find someone to numb this pain, and do what it takes to forget your name, forget your name, forget your name. Too many nights at home on my own, ignoring friends who blew up my phone. I don't know why I wasted my time. I should have known to never call you mine. You've hurt me too many times, and so tonight I'm gonna dance until I can't feel my feet, spin under the lights till I can't see, drown your laughter out with the music, whirl until my shoes fall apart, smile until I can't feel the scars, find someone to numb this pain, and do what it takes to forget your name, forget your name, forget your name. The next time someone who loves me hurts me, I'll break the chains and let myself just be free, and dance until I can't feel my feet, spin under the lights till I can't see, drown your laughter out with the music, whirl until my shoes fall apart, smile until I can't feel the scars, find someone to numb this pain, and do what it takes to forget your name, forget your name, forget your name.
Wow. Chloe, you have a very mature sound.
Thank you.
You know, I think back to Taylor and, you know, at that age and you know, you could kind of tell that she was young, but you fit right in.
Thank you
fit right
so
in.
much.
Like really nice, you know, that country sound, that new country sound. That's excellent. Your dad's an entertainment lawyer.
Yes, he is.
And he used to be a musician? Did he used to play, I think?
Yeah, he was in a band in New York. Yeah.
Did that motivate you to play, or any influence at all?
I mean, I guess kind of, but it was mostly me because I had seen the Hannah Montana movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I was like the huge fan of Miley Cyrus. And
sure.
Like a few days after it, I saw it for my 8th birthday, I think. And then a few days after, I just picked up the guitar that I had, like this little toy guitar. And I was like, hey, maybe I should try a few chords out. So I kind of just taught myself a few chords. And then I just kind of took off with it from there. But it was mainly that movie that motivated me.
That's awesome. Now, country has a real sound. So are there chords that are specific to country music, like that everybody has to know if you want to play country?
I think just like the basic chords for any kind of genre. I don't know any like specific country chords that are used a bunch, but just like the main ones, like D and E. Yeah, all those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you're writing songs, what comes first, the lyrics or the music?
It can be a variety of both, but a lot of times I start with a chord progression, and then I just come up with words and a melody at the same time. It just goes over that chord progression.
Rlee, you had a question for Chloe.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask how it is for you being 15 and doing concerts and tours and balancing that with family and school, and how do you handle that? It sounds like it would be overwhelming.
Well, I love doing it personally. When I was in Nashville, I would record from like 10 in the morning to 10 at night for a few weeks just to finish the album, and that was like I was having the time of my life, But for school, I do an online private academy, so that really helps me have more flexible hours. And then, of course, I spend time with my family because they're traveling with me to go to Nashville and back to New York and other places to perform. So I'm always with them.
Are you an only child, or do you have siblings?
I am. I'm an only child.
Well, that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, Mark, did you have any questions for her?
No, I like it. I'm a big fan of music, and I'm just enjoying listening to the music and enjoying your chat.
Yeah, yes. Great.
So, Chloe, you mentioned Hannah Montana. How do you view the transition that has been made from
Hannah to Wrecking Ball?
Right.
Twerking queen. Yeah.
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. I don't really have a say. I mean, personally, I do like the sound of her music still. I think she still has an amazing voice. She always had a great talent in that area. But, and I just saw her in A Very Murray Christmas or whatever, and she wasn't doing all the other stuff she does now, but she really showed off her voice, and I was really impressed by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does have a great voice. She's definitely got talent.
Yeah.
It seems that it's, the antics kind of overshadow that sometimes. But do you think that would happen to you ever?
I think I'm not going to go that way. I think I want to stay in the vein that I am right now. And, I'm just mainly focusing on the music. So hopefully that never happens.
So where do you think you are going to go? Like, what's your life goal?
My life goal is to definitely play Madison Square Garden and hopefully host Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And who would you want to share a stage with?
Definitely Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Oh, that would be
yeah, I've
gone
to
happen.
4 of her concerts, and she's just such a huge influence on my music.
I can see her asking you up one day.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of press? Do you have media that follows you quite a bit?
Yeah, I have kind of a big Twitter following, and I've been doing a bunch of interviews on a bunch of radio stations lately, so that's been cool.
Do you find the press bothers you? Does that? And the reason I'm asking that is because I think, with respect to how a lot of the controversy comes about in entertainers, is that the media takes a small thing and blows it so huge that it becomes controversial and then covers up the music.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't had a problem with that yet. I've just kind of been starting out now. And most of the reviews of my EP have been positive, which is great. And when they're not positive, they're usually good criticism that I can take and then maybe do better on my next album or whatever it is. So it's always helpful either way.
It's so great that you take that criticism that way and not be offended by it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very difficult. And it, can really affect someone's confidence when they get criticized. So you've got a really level head. As I said, your sound is very mature. Sounds like you are too. And, I can only wish you all the best, Chloe, really.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be huge. I really do. I think you got a great sound. And I want you to stick around too, because, we got lots to talk about right now. And one of the things that I fear a lot with our pets is like, Marc, you started off the show talking about at Christmas time about the things that can affect them and poison them, like chocolate and onions and raisins and poinsettias for your cats. Do you get poinsettias in your house, Chloe, at Christmas time? Do you worry about that with your cats?
Not really. I mean, they kind of I have a basement that they stay in and they have all their stuff in there. So they just kind of keep to themselves down there. They don't really get near all the possibly toxic stuff that's around the house during Christmas.
I had a dog once. She opened up a whole box of Ferrero Rocher. She unpacked them. All the gold foil was left on the floor. She ate them all very nice and neatly. And she never had, not even diarrhea. I couldn't believe it. Lucky thing that she was. She's still with us, but she's no longer with us now, but it wasn't because of the Ferrero Rocher. I wanted to, what are your cats' names? Tell us your animals' names. That tells a lot about a person, what they name their pets.
Well, my parents got them before I was born.
Oh, okay.
But their names are Kenya because they had seen lion cubs in Africa when they went on a trip there, and they thought that our kitten looked just like the cats there, cool. Like the lion cub, so they named him Kenya because that was in Kenya, I guess. And then the other one is named Blue because he's actually a black cat, but they thought he looked blue, and they spell it in the French way. So
yeah, Bleu.
Yep, Bleu.
Okay, and your dog?
His name is Rocky.
Rocky.
We just kind of like that name.
Yeah.
Is your first name Chloe, or is that your stage name?
That's my first name. My full name is Chloe Collins.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to come back with Chloe and Rlee and Marc. I'm Frankie. And in the sound booth there is Karina Love. And she's going to bring us all back in just a few seconds. So stick around, please.
Heck no, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Homeschooling? Have questions? Get your pen and paper ready. It's the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney. Fridays at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com. After a handsome blue-eyed Texan fell in love with Vivian at the Victoria Station in London, she found herself at DFW Airport with a tiny suitcase and a snazzy little duffel bag. Well, 25 years later, she is now happily married to that blue-eyed cowboy. They have 4 grown children ages 24 to 18 who became willing guinea pigs when she unwittingly stumbled upon the world of homeschooling. Wildflower Academy flourished for 15 years. They survived and thrived, and you can too. Vivian will be covering a wide range of issues that face homeschoolers. What do you do with kids in the summer? How to set up your one-room schoolhouse? How obedience is paramount? And what to do with those snakes? Plus, you'll be sharing ideas and insights that she gleaned from other homeschoolers. So join us for an engaging hour with the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney. Friday afternoons at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com.
It's words you never heard.
Do you ever wonder where common food items found on most restaurant menus got their names? Bob Cobb, owner of Hollywood's Brown Derby restaurant, created the Cobb salad one night in 1937 when he threw ingredients together to make a salad which included eggs. A cobber is a word for a friend, so dine on a Cobb salad with your cobber. The Caesar salad is attributed to Cesar Cardini, a restaurateur in Tijuana, Mexico, who created the unusual mix of greens and anchovies when he was running low on ingredients for salad and had to use what was left in his refrigerator. Reuben Kolakowski of Omaha, Nebraska, created the sandwich we now call the Reuben. He first concocted it to feed some late-night poker players at a local hotel. What's the word for personal names that are now dictionary words? Eponyms.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my new app, Too Funny for Words.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking around. We're so happy that you did. Chloe Collins is here, Marc Abraham, and Rlee, we're still here. So thanks. Marc, I wanted to ask you, because one thing that comes up at the dinner table all the time is, can we give our dog a little treat? And my dog is pretty good. I got a golden retriever. He has a very, very sensitive stomach. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff that he cannot eat, cheese being one of them. But, sometimes you make a meal and you cook stuff, and I put onions in practically everything. So if he was to have a piece of meat from a stew that had onions in it, would that affect him?
A big dog like a golden retriever probably wouldn't affect him, but at the end of the day, we can't really ever recommend anything that's contaminated, if you like, with something that's potentially toxic. So anything with gravy, onions, as we said, grapes, raisins, chocolate, it's just better to steer clear of it. Cheese is actually, it's a shame your dog doesn't tolerate it, because cheese is a very good training aid. But really, there's some good stuff out there. Raw carrots, I think, is my favourite treat that we can eat, and so can your dog.
Yeah, he will eat that.
It's good it's got a lot of fibre, obviously. It's quite sweet to the dogs. But really, the golden rule is, if you're going to start feeding your dog human food, make sure its sort of daily needs are taken care of. Right. Make sure you feed slightly less dog food, because obviously they're having more calories. And really, just be aware, obviously exercise and feeding responsibly. So it can be done. But don't do it all the time. It is, as you just said, it is a special treat.
Yeah, one of my dogs my shepherd had diabetes, and he was a rescue. And I think that somebody had probably given him too many cookies, because I don't give my dogs cookies. Their treats are like a little piece of meat or something. Because I think that they don't really need cookies and sugar and carbs and things like that. All.
And the other thing is, if you give dogs that sort of surge in sugar, they can get a condition called pancreatitis, which is not only incredibly painful and hard to treat, it costs a lot. The animal's always hospitalized, or usually hospitalized. And again, it's a preventable disease, and we've got to start thinking about preventable diseases, just before you do something that may seem appropriate at the time, or even funny, entertaining. Maybe your dog is great at begging, and you think, they've earned it, if you like. Please, just again, don't let your heart rule your head, and just do what's right for your pet. And if anything, take a tiny bit of dog food out of its daily ration and use that as a treat, or use dog treats. So there's plenty of options. It's not like this is the only thing we can give that dog at that particular moment, because dealing with the problems that arise afterwards from feeding something that's inappropriate is far more serious than just doing it at the time.
Like some breeds, like Goldens, are prone to different kinds of cancer, which just kind of scares me a little bit. And so I guess I am a little careful what he eats. But what about exercise? Like, how much exercise does a dog need? Some dogs are, they just love to run and run and run. And some dogs like to lay around. A lot of the larger ones, the Malamutes or whatever, they don't like to just sit there and look pretty. So how much exercise should your dog get? Or I don't think that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was going to say, it's just like us. I think dogs are all individuals. They will exercise until they're tired, like we will. I think the most important thing is you let them exercise until they get tired, or however long they want to. It's important also to realise that rescued greyhounds, of which there are a lot. I know there are a lot in the States and Canada as well as there are here. Don't actually require as much exercise as people think. Sure, they require walks, but they are quite happy to sit and be couch potatoes as well. So, like us, all animals are individuals. You will find, as you sort of embark on your journey, no pun intended, as you embark on your journey with your dog, how much your dog's exercise requirements are, what they're comfortable with, what you're comfortable with, and you'll find that common ground. And if you've got a dog that's well trained and it's got recall, you can let it off the lead, then obviously it's going to exercise a lot more. I
think it's not just the exercise, it's also for their mental well-being, because animals that are locked up in a house or in a small environment for long periods of time tend to become mentally disturbed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, physical stimulation, mental stimulation, that's all down to being a responsible pet owner and providing those essential needs for your pet, whether it's a dog, a cat, or a rabbit, or a hamster. If you can't provide physical and mental stimulation, correct diet, preventative health care, then you can't have a pet, and own it responsibly. So it's all part and parcel of being that responsible pet owner that we should all be striving for. And really, if you've got any questions whatsoever, contact your veterinarian. They've got all the answers. It's usually a free chat with a nurse or one of the vets. And even to the point where take them to the local clinic, get them weighed every month or every 2 months, and just keep that dialogue going with your veterinarian, because we spot things early like that. Lumps, dirty teeth, anything you're worried about, you can pop in. And also, the more you pop in socially, if you like, with your pet, the less likely they are to fear going to the vet, and the easier it is for everyone, to be honest with you.
So what about bones? All growing up, my dogs always had bones, and now it's like, don't give your dog a bone.
Yeah, I mean, again,
to bone or not to bone.
There you go. Again, it's the size of the bone. It's whether it's cooked or not. Some dogs will tolerate it, some others. At the end of the day, if you're worried, don't do it. It's the same with anything that you think of with your pet. If you're worried, don't do it.
I'm not worried, but my vet is.
Veterinarian, speak to your veterinarian about it, because bones are incredibly hard to remove from the intestine. They get stuck, they can splinter, they can cause perforation, they can cause constipation. So, for example, at this time of year, turkey carcasses, if you don't
I would never give a dog that.
Well, it's not even a case of giving it. If they find it in the bin or it's not wrapped up properly, do you know what I mean? Or a neighbour's bin.
Yeah.
You have to be so careful, because a turkey carcass can cause all sorts of problems. So just be careful at the end of the day, as we would with our kids or members of our family, because that's exactly what pets are.
And what about raw? Like, a lot of people have gone to raw, and they feed their dogs raw chicken carcass, but it's not cooked, obviously. What's the difference?
Well, raw is a very interesting topic at the moment. I'm sure it is there as it is here.
Yeah.
Raw, when it's done properly, is a great diet. The problem is people think they can do it properly, so they do their own homemade diets, and they miss out a load of stuff, or they don't grind down the bone. And, of course, if you're going to feed a carcass to a dog, in my opinion, and in a lot of vets' opinions, you're asking for trouble. But the diets that you get, for example, in this country, we have a brand called Natural Instinct, which comes straight from the warehouse. The bone is ground down, okay? So there's no danger of obstruction, there's no danger of perforation, but the dog is getting that natural diet. So there are circumstances where it can be done properly. And we're also seeing a massive growth in the raw industry, because, raw diets don't have the fillers, they don't have the cereals, they don't cause all sorts of sort of skin allergies. So we're seeing a huge growth because it's being done properly now. And there's brands that are being incredibly responsible and really providing that fantastic nutrient levels that your dog needs.
Marc, tell people how they can find you, and then I'm going to ask Chloe the same, because we're coming up to end of 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I'm easy. My website is marcthevet.com. That's Marc with a C, marcthevet.com. And, of course, if you can, follow Pup Aid, which is my anti-puppy mill campaign and promoting rescue, and that's PUPAID. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and share the posts, share awareness, and together, Pup Aid is a real team effort. It's the power of the mob. Together, we can raise so much awareness that people stop buying puppy mill puppies, and they also consider rescue pets as an option as well.
And you guys, look at the Good Radio Network, because you're going to see those posts over there. Chloe?
My website is still in the works, but I have a Twitter, which is Chloe Collins MUS. Instagram is Chloe Collins Music. Facebook is Chloe Collins Music, and everything else, like YouTube, is just my name, Chloe Collins. And
so they could go to iTunes to download your EP?
Yes, my EP is on iTunes currently.
Perfect. Wow. Great. Yeah. Did you have any questions for Marc?
Me?
Yeah. About your pets?
I think no.
You're good? Okay.
I've got to say, just before you wrap up, Chloe, if you're 15, and I think about me as a 15-year-old, I was the nerdiest, geekiest loser. All I did was collect butterflies and moths and caterpillars and then draw them. And when I think about what you're doing with a music career, it just blows my mind. So good luck, and it's been nice chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Marc looks like an MMA fighter, if you haven't seen a picture of him.
I didn't used to, that's for sure.
You look like a big, tough, heavyweight fighter or something. And I love this picture of you with the tiniest little Yorkies and little dog sitting with you. They're so cute.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, in the olden days, it was a big,
drawing them
big
was
hair.
What led you?
What's that?
What'd you say, Rlee?
Drawing butterflies and collecting and drawing, that's probably one of the reasons you went into your field.
Oh, absolutely. Literally. I mean, it's, I was obsessed with animals and I always wanted to help them. So I was drawing and that's why I'm called Marc. So I'm named after the painter Marc Chagall because my dad's an artist. I used to draw them and label them and, animals were my world and I never spoke to humans. So it's been quite a turnaround over the last few years.
We were going to talk about the gifts, and my SPCA sold a package of stuffed animals as a gift, and they're based on real dogs and cats and a horse who were rescued. Their horrible story, and then they were rescued. And if you buy this, then that money goes to rescuing other animals. So I bought this for all of my kids because they're huge animal lovers, and they don't need any more stuff. And my son wrote me back right away. Oh, that's the greatest gift you could have got me. And so. Anything like that, you can give people who don't really need anything anymore. Give it to Humane Society. Give it to shelters. Give it to whomever. Pup Aid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can gift stuff. You can gift vouchers, or I think you can even gift adoptions of pets. But also, if you've got old blankets, or even new blankets, or dog toys, or if you're buying for your pet at Christmas or over New Year, buy something extra and take it down to your local shelter and maybe spend time with some of the shelter pets and, take some pictures of them, maybe tweet them or Facebook them for people to adopt in the new year. We can all do our bit. We can all do our bit to stop people buying puppy mill pups. We can all do our bit to promote rescue. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do anything, then who is?
Well, Rlee, I am so glad, and I know that you are too, that we live in a world that has a Marc the Vet and has a Chloe Collins in it.
Absolutely. And, again, just, having the two of you on and sharing. And the beauty of the Internet is that we can share from so many different parts of the world, and that really excites me.
Mm-hmm. Can we just explain where we all are? Because it's
sure, I got 30 seconds.
Amazing.
Marc, you're?
I'm in Brighton in England.
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
I'm in New York.
And I'm in Coahuila, Mexico.
Yeah, there you go. And our producer here is in Texas.
Wow.
The power of the radio.
There you go.
Anyway,
Marc,
take
Chloe,
care.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. And I just want to mention one thing for the listeners in Canada and America. Go to Dog by Dog and look up their website, Dog by Dog, all about puppy mills.
I will post that on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Rlee.
Thank you so much. Good
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
She the one way to turn the world around. She you be the one